Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan, and probably not a moan this one. I just want to update everyone on the latest developments since the FOI request about the money that Humza Yousaf forced upon the Scottish Government to give to the Unrwa in Gaza, despite the Minister's advice and Ministers already having agreed to not give it to that charity, to give it to UNICEF instead. Now, the FOI I done a month ago, came back maybe a week, 10 days ago, and I done a video which was the fourth part of information about this donation, and it went a bit viral. I was contacted by a journalist from the Telegraph, Camilla Turner, about maybe a week ago, where she had came by the video and wanted to discuss it in more detail. So we had quite a number of long telephone conversations, and what became very evident to me was Camilla was a proper journalist. Camilla was not wanting to just do a copy and paste job, take my information and possibly even a transcript of my video, copy it, paste it, stick it online and look for some hits. She wanted to do a proper, old-fashioned journalist's job on it. And she took the story, and she took the bones of the story and the information and acted amazingly upon that. Not only did she regurgitate some of the information I supplied her, she went above and beyond and unravelled and revealed even more shocking information about the situation where Humza rode roughshod over process and about turned a ministerial decision on where this money should go to. The money should originally have been £200,000 to UNICEF for the purpose and distinct purpose of putting clean water into Gaza, where children and families were struggling to get safe water. Humza decided to give £250,000 to the UNRWA unrestricted, which means there was no caveat onto how that money should be spent once it was received by the UNRWA. And then obviously we're all aware, the following day made the announcement, he met the UNWRA, and 24 hours later his in-laws came out of Gaza, safe passage through Rafah, crossing into Egypt, then homeward onto the United Kingdom. So that was the basis of the story. Now, as I say, Camilla didn't just write that up and rewrite what I'd said in the video. She, went about her job properly. She contacted many people for quotations and their opinion on it. And now she's unveiled that there's potentially a conflict of interest here, which is quite an interesting angle to come at, because ministers are not allowed to get involved with anything that could advantage, regardless of the situation, their own personal family, and close family at that. And Humza, to be fair, for anybody like myself who's sat in a committee or a board of a business, when subjects come up onto the table that you have got a conflict of interest in, not only is it legal, it's a moral obligation to enlighten people and stand back from the decision-making process. Humza done the complete opposite. Humza overturned the decision-making process, where he should have said, look, I've got in-laws in Gaza right now, I'm probably as well stepping back for this one. But he didn't. He failed. She also unveiled that there's potentially a Holyrood standard and procedures issue here, which could lead to an investigation with the breaking the ministerial code. Fantastic, isn't it? She also managed to unveil that the Met Police have got a report about this situation, and Humza in general, been looked at by their anti-terror squad. And there is another report prepared, as Camilla said, being prepared for Audit Scotland. who normally look into things like this, misuse of funds, etc., etc., etc. Now, just to give you some feedback on the things that Camilla done once she had the information, she contacted a lot of MSPs, and one who is quoted as being where are we? The Holyrood Standards and Procedures Committee member suggested that he could face an inquiry if they believe that he's broken the ministerial code. Stephen Kerr, Conservative MSP, went on to say that the money was not budgeted for, he bent the rules, he didn't follow procedure, and it was a clear conflict of interest. Fair play to you, Stephen. Douglas Ross, the Tory leader in Holyrood, was quoted as saying questions need to be asked. Now that's a great point, Mr. Ross, and not that I'm wanting to fall out with you, not that I'm wanting to say much bad about you, but I will tell the truth. I have seen documented proof that you already seen my video with all the FOI details. One of your constituents sent you the said video in an email, and I have seen your response, where you quite clearly have seen the video a week before Camilla approached you for comment. Now, what I challenge you to do, Mr. Ross, is use your time wisely on Thursday at First Minister's questions. Because this isn't new evidence to you, this isn't new news to you. And the Scottish people deserve you holding and taking Humza Yousaf to task this Thursday in First Minister's questions. I'll repeat the offer I've already made to you personally. I will give you all the freedom of information release that I got, and you can do with it what you wish. I hope if you take me up on that offer, you do half as good a job as Camilla Turner has when I gave her the information that I've offered you previously. Alex Cole-Hamilton, a Liberal Democrat, says it seems like an unusual step, and he was discussing the fact that Humza turned this whole decision made by ministers and against the ministerial advice and turned it 180 degrees for his own need. Humza's spokesperson also was contacted by Camilla. She's obviously been very busy since we last spoke. And they were quoted in her story as saying that the decision was based on advice from officials. Now, not a word of that is true. If you base on the FOI that I've got, and I'm probably going to put it all out publicly, all 50 odd pages of it, maybe this week. We'll see how. I would prefer to give some of the press some more time to take this on, and I'll explain why in a wee bit of time. But once I believe it's had all the coverage it can get from the mainstream media, I'll put every single page of it out in public. Maybe the next week, 10 days, something like that. And we'll show that Humza's spokesperson, who says, based on advice from officials, is complete bunkum. The advice from officials, and indeed the decision made by ministers, was to give a lesser amount of money to the UNICEF for clean water. So he didn't go and base his decision on any advice whatsoever. As one of the most damning emails in the pile suggests, Humza said, we will just give the money to UNWRA and we'll need to deal with the financial consequences later. That's not listening to anybody's advice. Now, the editorial, because not only did Camilla manage to get front page of the Telegraph, she also managed to get a second story in the editorial column of the paper. And it obviously covers a lot of the same information, talks about what actually happened and how bizarre it is. But the editorial also concentrates on the fact that Humza has already broken the UK government's protocols and listed numerous meetings that he's had which did not follow protocol. It mentions the fact that the UK government had already spoken to about their displeasure about the way he was behaving at COP26, and suggests that Humza should just learn to stay out of big boy politics, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, I can't thank Camellia enough. I have had lots of dealings with journalists over the years, dozens probably, more than a couple of dozen. And those of you are aware of my previous campaigning efforts, 2012 to 15, with Rangers Football Club Board and trying to remove them, will be well aware that for those 3 years I've had a lot of dealings with newspapers. I dealt with journalists from local newspapers up to nationals, not just Scottish nationals, but UK national newspapers. I dealt with TV stations such as BBC regularly, STV regularly, BBC Radio, Clyde Radio, Sky Sports, all these things during that 3-year campaigning. And I got to understand a lot about journalists and their game. Camellia is top of that game. And what it showed me as well is, I mentioned that I want to give other journalists, etc., the opportunity to expose more of this story. People like myself, I don't know the name you give them. I've only been doing these videos about politics since November. I think some people call us civil journalists, something like that. I don't know. New media. I do not proclaim to be a journalist. I am not trained to be a journalist. However, through all my campaigning previously and this, I always believed that put in the hands of a proper journalist will always get a better, bigger story than someone like myself who's an amateur. However, the industry of journalism has changed somewhat since people stopped buying newspapers, to be perfectly honest with you. There's been layoffs, sackings, and jobs changing, what the role is. And unfortunately, investigative journalism is probably one of the most affected areas in journalism with the changes in the industry. So it is warming to see that those types of traits are still alive in some journalists like Camellia. But I understand that it's not everybody. A lot of the people out there are simply copy, paste and clickbait journalists. That's the way the business is going. But hat off to Camellia, and it's renewed a bit of my faith in the industry. Others were given opportunity to write the same or similar stories and felt they couldn't stand up the information. I don't understand why, when the FOI would give you plenty of evidence that you can stand up quite easily, and could have wrote many a piece from it. So as I say, I'll put the links to the articles in the description here. Please have a share about, and I don't think this is the end of the story. I don't understand how you could potentially break ministerial code, conflicts of interest, Audit Scotland, the police. All these bodies are now aware and, or will be aware shortly, and looking at this incident, and I cannot believe if nothing would happen from that. But the people that need to come to the party next are the opposition leaders at Holyrood. You all have the information. You all have an opportunity every week in First Minister's Questions on a Thursday. I look forward to seeing your reaction. I'll also link in my FOI video to the description as well for those of you who haven't seen that. But if you've enjoyed this video, thumbs up please, give us a subscription, and share again. And thank you very much for everyone out there, including the journalist Camellia, but all those on Twitter, etc., that have been pushing this story since I put out the freedom of information. Thank you very much to all of them. But most importantly of all, unless you're Humza Yousaf, have a great day. Cheery bye now.